Hi, welcome. My name is Jeff Johnson, and this is the 5 universal truths of supporting the hybrid workforce today. I'm here with my colleague, Tom Fenton. Hi, Tom.
Hey, how you doing? Really excited about the presentation today. We got some really neat demos I think you can enjoy.
That's fantastic. Well, let's dive right into this, Tom. So the world of work has changed, right? Instead of supporting a few offices, we must now support thousands of remote workers. In fact, I really think about, when I think about this, I think we've had the technology here for so long, for probably a decade, to support remote workers, but socially, we didn't have an event force us to do this. And COVID brought this upon us to utilize the technology and socially figure out how to work in a disparate systems with everyone working from home. And within that, at the same time we figured this out, we've also then have changed our corporate culture. So the corporate culture was all around, oh, I have a nice office, I have a gym in my office, I have dry cleaning, I have a cafeteria. Well, all of that is gone. Or maybe it's not gone, it's still there, it's not being used. And the focus now is shifting to this digital culture. But as Gartner says in this article, 71% of the employees don't think HR understands what they need and want in this dispersed, working remote area. I mean, you on the same page as this, Tom?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We went from having 30,000 employees in 3 offices to 30,000 employees in 30,000 offices, right?
But what I think is really interesting is we've had the technology to do this for so long. And it wasn't until COVID, until it was forced upon us to figure it out on how do we socially make this thing work. And the benefits, I just booked a business trip for December. And I'm looking at my flight. I have to leave a day early and then come home a day after. And I'm like, that's 2 days down the drain that I haven't had to deal with for like 2 years, right?
Well, I used to commute an hour to work every day, hour each way, 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours, right? Wasted time.
Yeah. And now I work those 2 hours extra. I'm barefoot, so it's okay. It's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So the world of work has changed, and we all know that, and it's here now. But the IT departments are struggling to support people working anywhere, and what we mean by that is, a buddy of mine is an analyst at a major, analyst corporation, and he talks to people every day. His calendar is booked all day long, every day, on how to secure these remote workers. Well, yeah, you have to have the security. That has to be there. You have to patch, you have to make sure those, they're not getting socially engineered, they're not getting hacked, even though they're at home. You have to do that. That's different than my digital employee experience. And those are table stakes to have the security. But it's kind of interesting. It's like I could have so much security and so much manageability of my machine that it degrades my digital experience, doesn't it? Like, right? My CPU's collecting too much information. The machine's so locked down that I don't have the freedom to be creative. I don't have the freedom, or the machine's running slow. So we struggle to support virtual and physical devices that are scattered throughout the country or the world. We struggle to support network resources and SaaS applications that we're not even running, somebody else is running. And we have to, kind of support that, right? Who are they going to call? If Salesforce is down, are they going to call, are your users going to call Salesforce? No, they're going to call you.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And, we have so many remote resources that we need to connect into, and that we have this huge huge path that they go to. So you have so many people involved. It's just incredible.
And it is all around the user experience. And within that user experience, there has been no objective way to measure that experience. There is subjective way. If I say, Tom, how's your digital user experience going today? That is subjective because it relates to other things that it might be going on in your life. Like you might be relating it to your own personal laptop, which may be a lot faster and brand new. It's subjective, right?
Yep.
So until now, there's been no objective way to measure it. There's also no digital experience context. What's the context of what we're talking about? And no benchmarks. You know, I could have 500 employees say, this is the worst experience ever, but guess what? Their experience could be better than the rest of the world. Maybe their expectations are too high. Again, it's an objective versus subjective, right?
Yep. You know, we need to know what we know. And like you said, someone's experience could be horrible, but they don't report it because that's just, they got.
Oh, that's a whole other aspect too, right?
Yeah.
What didn't you say? Like 70% of problems go unreported, and those
Yep.
people are just stewing in their own frustration. And guess what? Unless we deal with that person who doesn't call in and just complains to all their other colleagues, or they don't complain at all, they're going to leave the business.
Yep. Or they get beaten down. You know, they call up, report, the person can't. You know, I don't see what you're seeing. I don't know what you're talking about, and they just say, you know, why bother? I'll work at 50% because that's what you want.
Well, so this is why we came up with these 5 universal truths to supporting the hybrid workforce, and these truths go after the remote worker and IT help desk. You need to make both people happy. You need to make both people satisfied in this hybrid workforce. Now, I'm not talking about the IT person working from home. Yeah, they absolutely could, and they do. I'm talking about helping them help the remote workers. I'm talking about having the remote worker be super happy with the experience if they do have to call into help desk. Or can we just fix things without them even knowing? And by the way, Tom, check out the rest of this presentation. Look at the footwear of the remote workers. It changes throughout the rest of the presentation. I love
they got me beat as I sit here with my bare feet. So I'm not one to throw stones.
All right, let's dive into this. So first of all, the digital experience problems, it comes from many sources. And when I was in support, I remember, learning the OSI model. And when someone would call in, do I either start from the bottom, work my way up, or the top and work my way down? And the better I got at support, I might be able to go in the middle and start going down, because I kind of knew where the problem was based off what they were talking about. But it doesn't always happen that way. Like, because, I might be going off of my own experience, but the problem can be completely different. So where do you start looking? And this is where I think we really get into and Tom, I know you've been in the industry a long time, and so have I, but like a VDI or an EUC problem, like with Citrix or with Horizon VMware, when people call in, I'm talking about help desk support. When people call in with an EUC issue, I would say more times than not, that would get escalated up to the second or third tier of support pretty quick, because those problems are way different, way more complicated than a laptop. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is with this huge influx of new T1 people, what we need to do is have, technical T1 people solve T2 problems, but they don't have the tribal knowledge. And I think you're going to get at this a little bit later, is how we push that knowledge down into our product.
Oh man, yes, absolutely. So let's go into there. So here's what ControlUp does. We collect, if you take a look at the OSI model there, it's a loose interpretation of OSI model, know that. So it's not 5 or 7 tier, but you get that, you follow me. But we collect thousands of metrics with a lightweight user mode agent. Now, let me just pause right there. So user mode is great because if it's kernel mode, just trying to get that past security, Remember we talked about security earlier, trying to get the agent down and throughout my entire network and all my remote devices and my EUC environment, trying to get that passed through your security, your CISO, that'll take forever. But a user mode collects thousands of metrics in real time and passes those up to our cloud. But then we can also look at API calls to the hypervisors and the gateways to get this deep understanding of an EUC environment. So we take a look at the thousands of metrics at the endpoint or the virtual application or virtual desktop, or we gather all of these metrics around the hypervisor and the EUC environment. This is critical. This is critical. We do this in real time. So we take a look at the New South Wales government. This is an eHealth. This is a healthcare organization. They had no confidence in the tools that they were using. None of the tools were real time, and they thought that was basically useless. So they're going back to looking at all of the, all their help desk logs and all of their, the endpoint logs, and troubleshooting is just horrible. What they found with ControlUp is they have near instant information, what we call real time. It's not CPU intensive, and there's nothing to install. I mean, we're talking about the prerequisites like SQL Server and all that stuff because we're a SaaS, we're a cloud-based solution. What they found was ControlUp has become their go-to information provider. When someone says, what happened? They say, see what ControlUp says. That's their go-to first thing. So this real-time understanding of your servers, your EUC environment, your virtual applications and your virtual desktops and your physical desktop, having that real-time information is critical as our cornerstone of supporting this remote workforce. Now, Tom, I think you have a demo for us. Is that right?
Yeah. Before we get into this, let's just talk about this real time because you're on this great help desk. Could you imagine if an EKG was reported every 5-10 minutes?
Oh, geez, right?
Yeah, it's useless information. Yep. So
this is kind of maybe it's morbid, but they say like in a kidnapping or a murder, that first 48 hours is critical to finding the killer, right? So this is kind of the same thing. The each second I take after an event happens, it's harder to go back in time to figure out what exactly happened was the root cause.
Yep, that's a good analogy.
So here we go, real time. You take it over.
Okay, great. Shipped over there. All right, great. All right. So keep your eye on the free space on system drive. This really could be anything. Like you said, we monitor 1,000 different things, but keep your eye on the free space on system drive. I have an application that's really aggressive about writing to the temp file, and there it turned red, right? We went from having 23 gig to 27 megabytes of data there. We saw it in real time. Every 3 seconds, go out, collect it. We know there's an issue. It really becomes apparent real quick.
So let me kind of paraphrase what we see here is we have a bunch of these metrics are out there. They're all green. I mean, we all want to go green, right? We're trying to be eco-friendly. But what we just saw was an event happened. It happened, and this kind of happened to just fill up that hard drive, and that end user was probably experiencing some kind of a lag. They're probably experiencing some kind of out of disk space error. Well, that's just an error, but their system was probably running slow, right?
Oh yeah. When you run out of disk space, not to get real geeky, it tries to go out there and free up blocks and does all sorts of things. So it really, when you get to that last 10% of disk, things start to slow down a lot.
But we could have measured like I ran out of free RAM, or I could have measured I'm over 90% CPU, or I could have done like I ran out of network availability or whatever, right?
Oh yeah. But the user doesn't know that. They don't watch Task Manager. They just know their end user experience is not really good.
So what ControlUp brings to the table is this real-time understanding of your EUC infrastructure, like your hypervisors, your gateways, and all of the virtualization layer, and endpoints and the networks in real time. So we have this user mode agent that's has a low security risk. We see this environment in real time, so then we can react to it. Like your EKG example. This person flatlined, now I can react to this right now. And detect problems. Whoa, detect problems before help desk is called, right? Think about nirvana. My help desk calls me when something's wrong, or they don't even call me, they just fix it. Let's pause there for a second. I know what you're thinking, Tom. But net, this reduces my mean time to remediation, which we'll talk about this in the next segment. But so it starts to help me, like I can see something's wrong. I don't have to wait for the call and try to figure out what was wrong, right, Tom?
Yep, absolutely. You don't want the user's experience to degrade. You need to catch those before they happen.
That's fantastic. Let's keep going on this. So we just detected stuff in real time, but now we're going to focus on troubleshooting and remediation. Now troubleshooting and remediation could take hours, and people would rather poke themselves in the eyeball with a stick rather than call help desk. And why is that? Well, again, we have this OSI layer kind of a thing, but then the help desk person over there on the right-hand side, they got to look at, once this person calls in, there's a problem. They have to look at the application logs, security logs, hardware events, browser events, PowerShells, web browser, performance monitoring. I mean, they're just starting to go down and trying to find root cause. And you got to find root cause before you can fix the problem. And this can take hours. And guess what? This is hours. This person that called in, this is hours they're not working. And this is hours the help desk person is trying to help that person get back to work. This happens every single day. And like we said earlier, if this is a virtual environment, this could be tier 2, tier 3 support. If this is a physical environment, it might exhaust the tier 1 and go up to tier 2. So what do? Remember all those thousands of metrics we collect? We've collected billions of computing hours from tens and thousands and tens of thousands of troubleshooting sequences. What that means is, if all of my customers worldwide, I'm analyzing all the problems that has been discovered, and then I also understood what help desk did to fix those problems, I can have my virtual expert, my AI, we call Oliver. We can then say, hey, here's a problem. It's probably 1, 2, or 3 of these script actions that will fix your problem. So Tom, I think you mentioned earlier, how do we take the T2 or T3 help desk and provide power, knowledge, and guidance down to my frontline help desk workers without them knowing or understanding how to troubleshoot it? ControlUp says, I think this is your problem, and I think if you run 1, 2, or 3 of these things, I think that will fix your problem. That is amazing.
Yep. And not only do we, or does ControlUp build that intelligence in, we also have ways that you can embed your own knowledge into the product as well. And, suggestions you can, because each environment's different. So you can also configure it to, if this happens, then suggest this.
Well, like the script actions. I know I can download script actions from our global community and run those. And by the way, there's security around those, because I may not want T1 help desk running certain scripts, right? I might want T2 or T3 to run certain other scripts. But then I can add my own scripts to the action library. Then we'll talk a little bit later about how we can exploit the script action library. So let's take a look at, here's North Carolina, right? It's a credit union. And what they were having a bunch of problems. They've hundreds of servers that they monitor. With ControlUp, they can quickly detect and locate fixed problems before they affect the users. They can take a script action and run it on one or thousands of servers at the same time. They can look at a baseline of normal behavior and figure out when do things get out of normal behavior. They can reduce outage times and catch things early. And I love this. Multiple servers simultaneously. And they even say ControlUp catches problems you don't know are happening. We can see those and then react to them. And you can then head off much larger issues by addressing them early. So we detected the problem real time. The ControlUp then said, hey, here's your problem. And I think if you run this, we can fix it. And I think you have a demo for us, don't you, Tom?
You betcha. Let's see if I can bring up my screen here. And it does use one of those scripts. Okay. So while we were talking, I went through and I cleared out that disk drive manually. It took me about 5 minutes to do it by the time I logged in everything else. But it's going to happen again. I know it's going to happen again. So keep your eye on the free space on system drive. This is a recurrent, there it goes, I'm down to nothing. But this time, instead of manually going in, let's count the clicks here and see how many clicks it takes me to do it. I'm taking, I built this script, embedding my logic in it. And here, this script will go out there and it will clean out that disk for me. So I don't need to log in. It takes just, there went green, right? So how many clicks was that? Were you counting?
It was like 3 or 4 clicks, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I took the knowledge that I had and, this script cleans up that drive and that's all there is to it. And
So
I can do this, mass healing. I can do this for one machine. I could literally have clicked 20 different machines and have this happen to them.
Remember in my environment, I had about 10 machines that some went wrong with their profiles. So there was a script to go out and just delete all their profiles because profiles could get regenerated, right? So I just highlighted all 10 machines and I ran a script that came with ControlUp to delete all their profiles and they're all gone. They got rebuilt. They weren't corrupt anymore. And we're all right as rain. It's fantastic.
Yep.
So we call a lot of this, we call this benefits, we call this contextual troubleshooting, meaning something went wrong. It told you kind of what this thing is. And it said, if you click one of these things, it will fix your problem. And we see this is the shortest path to find the root cause of a problem. We can, like Tom said, we can empower low-level help desk employees to fix complicated issues. And ultimately, we increase this employee satisfaction. I mean, I made the help desk happy. I made the end users happy. I mean, this is amazing. Like, truly, it's amazing. The power of having this. Now, I used to run System Center Configuration Manager and System Center Operations Manager, and the amount of data you got was amazing, and there's very great products. But the lag time between getting information when something went wrong to figuring out what was root cause took me exponentially longer than this. Exponentially longer. So that leads into look at known issues frustrate everybody. It's a frustration, right? A service needs to get restarted. An agent needs to get restarted. Tom, I called help desk on this last week, the week before, and the week before that. And help desk says, yes, sorry, just go ahead and restart the service. Or servers and clients run out of memory or disk space, kind of like what you showed earlier. Or servers are consumed by idle sessions, like all these VDI sessions or terminal server sessions, and then everyone disconnected, but those sessions are still running, consuming power, and they're not getting disconnected or logged off. I mean, these are just known issues on the IT side, on the end user side, right?
Yeah. So imagine these servers are on a DAS. You're hosting them in Google Azure, wherever. Yep. Those idle sessions, they keep charging you, whether you're either idle or they're active. So we actually have done some neat things to remediate that issue as well, so you don't get overcharged.
That's fantastic. So we do this by, okay, we have the real-time understanding. We can measure the digital experience within user sessions. We can then allocate additional resources if they're available. So I could be running out of resources. ControlUp can automatically detect that and automatically allocate me more resources. And that sounds like voodoo magic. You can also dynamically optimize. So I can look at, reclaim idle resources from non-busy, consumers, allowing higher density without sacrificing performance. So I can start moving things around and dynamically optimizing my environment. I can also leverage these real-time triggers to collect additional contextual information needed for troubleshooting. So therefore, oh, something went wrong. Well, let me use a script, but I can trigger a script to go get more information to bring back to the operator to say, here's the things that you always request when this thing goes wrong. So I'm just going to give it to you. Now you know the CPU type, the patch level, the RAM, like whatever those things are, those 10 things are that you need, we could bring to you. So augmented troubleshooting. So we take a look at Parentix. If you think about this is a cloud solutions, right? The cloud is all about automation. You can't have a cloud without automation. So with ControlUp, they say the scripts are a game changer. Automation is a game changer. Whether they use PowerShell to clean up disk space or reducing remediation time. Look at, they used the automation to handle processes that in the past would have been performed manually. With ControlUp, they're able to prevent problems from happening. I love the quote down at the bottom right. We went from having 40 disk space related incidents per week to just 4 because we're automatically fix things. Tom, I wish you could show us a demo where we automatically fix disk space issues.
It's going to be a boring demo because it just happens automatically. But let's go ahead and do it.
All right.
Okay, great. So here's same thing. We see, we cleaned it up before. So keep your eye on that free space on system drive. I'm not going to be moving anything here. What I'm going to do is enable a trigger, and I built this beforehand. So whenever the disk drive has less than 1 gig of free space, it's going to go ahead and run that script that we ran before. So let's say apply.
To clean up the drive, like the temp folder and things like that,
yep.
Right?
Yep. So don't there. Just okay. Just keep an eye on the green. Gonna move.
This person's not, they're not changing their behavior. They're just going to fill up the drive, right?
Yep, exactly.
Oh,
so there it is. Okay. And wait for it. Takes, like I said, we collect metrics every 3 seconds. So it might take a cycle or two. And there it is.
Fixed.
Like I said, boring to watch, right? Just turns red for a second. And I don't know about you. When I was on support desk, I hated getting those 3 a.m. calls because my disk drive's full. What do I do? I'm sorry, they wouldn't even know their disk drive's full. My system's sluggish. It's crashing. Why is it doing this? Those 3 a.m. calls, I dreaded them. So with this, we have Oliver take care of the 3 a.m. calls for us.
So automation, right? So we have consolidation of our problems. We can take this anomalies and then we can apply fixes to them, and ultimately this reduces downtime for my clients. I mean, I like this girl, she's barefoot, it's awesome. So it's like we're fixing problems before they're problems. I mean, the problem happened, but as far as the end user knows, maybe instead of having to call help desk, they had a little glitch, something, a little hitch in their step or whatever, right? For like 6 seconds, it was bad, and then it was fixed, and then they keep going. I mean,
like a glitch in the matrix, right?
A glitch in the matrix. So the automation, I mean, this is really exciting stuff. But still, still yet, computing environments change. They change over time. Desktops may slow down, applications may slow down, whether it's a cloud application or a virtual application or a locally installed application. Hypervisors, they can become overloaded, overconsumed, overused. Gateways and VPNs can just get inundated. I remember, before the COVID, years ago, when we had a major storm up here in Seattle, everyone, I was working at Microsoft at the time, everyone came home to work. And the VPNs were just flooded. You couldn't even work. I mean, it still kept letting people in, and that pipe was just so clogged. Now things are, we're a little bit better on that with cloud services and things like that. But it still was a major issue. Back then we couldn't work. I couldn't work. And home networks can become overused, and home routers can slow down. I mean, you and I were talking about the difference between an enterprise class router and the router that you have in your own home, right?
Well, that 5-year-old router in my own home that's being used by my spouse she's a teacher running WebEx, and my kids watching Netflix. I mean,
yeah,
learning online classes.
I want to know how many help desk calls where the answer is reboot your home router, because they don't even know. They're just like spinning this. They're spinning the spinning wheel of excuses, right?
Okay.
And they're like, I am just reaching. I don't know what's your problem. I think it's your home network. I have no visibility into an unmanaged network.
Right, and talking about that lack of visibility between the edge point device and the router. Is it a secure connection? Are they in a coffee shop? You like you said, your router at home goes, you go to the coffee shop. And what happens if you're on a unsecured, not using a secure protocol to connect to the router, because it's McDonald's.
Totally. So what do we do? Well, remember those thousands of metrics we collect every 3 seconds? We can keep that data in our cloud, in our customer's cloud, separate cloud for a year. If we look at that data for over a year, we can get trending analysis. We can drill down to look at correlations between what's going on with historical trends. This is huge to fully understand. We talked a long time ago, seems like a long time ago when this first started, objective versus subjective, user experience. This gets me into the objective user experience. Now I have historical trends of what's going on in my environment. So if my users say this running worse today than it was a month ago or a year ago, I can validate that with data. Also, I can compare my organization with other ControlUp's organization with a first ever global community benchmark. You can compare your environment to other enterprises that ControlUp has. So if your users say, I think my system's running slow, my overall desktop or digital employee experience is horrible, and you could validate that or say, no, it's actually running better than most, right? It's what amazing data to have. And if you're not running as good as other people in our community, maybe you just haven't used ControlUp as long as they have. Maybe you now know what to work on to improve your employees' experience. In fact, I am so competitive, Tom. I know that I would look at all of these metrics and I would want to be better than everybody else on every one of those metrics. Right?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, the type A personalities that end up being the C-level people, they want to beat those metrics.
And then also real-time optimization. So when something happens, it's kind of like, instead of troubleshooting, because I think a lot of were you troubleshooting or were you optimizing in those old those demos you did? It's a little of both, right? But we could also do some automated actions that do absolute optimization of or an improvement of that digital experience. So if we take a look at BE Aerospace, these people make airliners, seats, and interiors. And what they love about ControlUp is, I love this quote at the very top. Before ControlUp, we were reactive, but now we are 100% proactive. I mean, that is a statement right there. ControlUp gives us real-time visibility to our environment. We can detect and solve problems immediately, create incident triggers, generate emails and text alerts. We can optimize, we can improve logon speed. And then on the bottom there, I can't tell you how many times we've ControlUp, especially for HKey current user registry, to compare working users with a non-working user. Gives the ability to see rogue registry settings. I mean, looking in the registry, looking in the file system, looking at all the metrics, looking at this whole user experience is pretty amazing. And I bet you got an amazing demo now, don't you?
Yeah, but before we go there, I just noticed I didn't. We've gone through these slides a couple times, and I just noticed that they got their logons down to 20 seconds. That is, that's incredible, especially because last month I was talking to one of my coworkers,
Yeah.
and they were dealing with a customer who had a 4-minute logon
Oh,
time.
geez. Well,
Yeah.
the average ControlUp customer has a 27-second logon time. Average ControlUp customer, and if yours are longer than that, download ControlUp, then it can tell you why.
Well, and that's what they did. They literally we have a logon analyze script, and they were able to see exactly why they were, 4 minutes logon time, and they were
they using WMI filters on their GPOs?
What's up?
Were they using WMI filters on their GPOs?
That's exactly. Have you been talking to Trent too?
Yeah. All right, what do you got for us here, Tom?
Yeah, this one I think you're really gonna like. Let me see if I can bring it up. There we go. All right. So I'm. You can see the video on the right-hand side.
That person's
pretty
a great
smooth.
skier.
Well, this form's a little bit off, but there's a network misconfiguration. And I think see it manifesting right here.
That's horrible.
And the user doesn't know what it is. Is it CPU? Is it memory? Is it whatever?
Network? Is it whatever? Yeah.
Yep. But I know what it is. It's misconfigured networking. So I have a script here that I'm going to enable. It's correct network routing. They misrouted some stuff there. And so whenever the latency goes above 70 milliseconds, it's going to automatically detect that, go out there and correct that networking routing misconfiguration. And here we go. I bet he wipes out. He's still jerky. Oh, look at those smooth turns he's making now.
That's a great looking skier.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
but the important thing is, if you were a user and you just started to see it jittery like that, is it me? Is it the network?
Is it YouTube? Is it my kids playing, Xbox?
Yeah. Would you go down and yell at your kids to get them off? No, it was the fact the routing on your endpoint device was misconfigured. And so we knew that. We automated it, and don't get those 3 a.m. calls. I hate those.
That's amazing. So optimization, look at it. Objective data analysis, not subjective, objective data analysis. We also can plan for future growth. If my company keeps growing at this speed, I'm going to need to upgrade I need more servers, I need more capacity, I need whatever that is. So we can start monitoring and managing that, because that will affect the digital employee experience. And benchmark comparisons, I think, is one of the most amazing things of them all, to really kind of understand what's going on, compare it with a global community, and report back that data to management is it really is unprecedented.
Right. And as a manager, and you want to request new hardware, this gives you quantifiable data. Hey, look, over the past 12 months, we've seen a decrease in employee experience because the resource will be utilized. Here's the chart, here's the graph, here's the quantifiable data.
Yeah, we know we're going to hire another 50, 100, 1,000 employees next year. This is what we'll need to support that. Totally.
Yeah. And on the flip side, by the way, here are some changes that we enacted, and we decrease the resource usage. Or we can audit. We can also monitor licensing. So we only have 50 people using these 300 licenses that we've bought. So we can take a look at that too and say, yeah.
Ah, nice. So I think this is our last one. And so when we think about this, critical resources will fail. when they do, everyone loses. IT loses because help desk gets inundated with calls. The employee loses because they can't work. You know, think about SaaS application failures, whether it's Facebook, and it's Tom's favorite SaaS application is Facebook, by the way, or whether it's Salesforce, or whether it's Office 365, AWS. They've all gone down over the last couple of years. All of those have gone down over the last couple of years. An employee doesn't know or care that it went down. All they know is they can't do their work. And the only person they can call is your help desk. Your help desk is going to get inundated with calls. Now what I think is interesting with this is, or the EOC infrastructure could fail, critical network resources can fail. What I think is really interesting with this is that a lot of organizations, a lot of large organizations have amazing NOCs and SOCs, right? And they have a lot of the tools that monitor the SaaS applications. You may be listening to this and say, well, yeah, I know my NOC has the ability to monitor my SaaS application, my EC infrastructure, my critical networks. Yep, I don't doubt that they do. But where this falls down is, do they have in place an SLA where they notify help desk? And then does help desk notify the end users before the end users call help desk? And the customers I've talked to, all of the customers I've talked to, are very frustrated between the NOC telling them something went down. And a lot of customers then don't even have this capability. So what we've done at ControlUp is we have a product called Scout Bees, and it does proactive synthetic testing of critical resources. It proactively synthetically tests virtuals, apps, and desktops. It goes, so there's a big difference between something if something is alive or looks alive. Looks alive is pretty easy, right? I could ping something and that looks alive. And that takes very little resources to do that. But if I go over there and try to use that virtual desktop, it may not work. So the technology around this is looks alive, or no, it's a is alive versus it looks alive. It's a is alive. I didn't just ping it. I went and logged on to that virtual desktop, and what happened? It was good. I got a thumbs up. Well, we could do that same kind of synthetic testing with SaaS applications and network services. And then of course I could do all my alerting and notifications around this. So I know that Tom, you have a really great demo for this one too, right?
Yep. Let me bring up my email here. Take just a second. All right. So I got this email proactively alerting that something happened. Let me go ahead and click it and open up. It'll take just a second. Where's my mouse? There we go. And bring it up. It says, yep, the Scout name, AAA website is down. It had a failure. You know, go ahead and click this see more. It's going to bring me into the Scout Bees portal. And that top one there is the AAA website. And let me get rid of that. If I look at the right, I can see, you know, the success ratio, 200 times it failed in the last 24 hours.
Wow.
Now I can go back 5 days if I want. Let me go ahead and do a little deeper dive into this. And I mean, the first thing you see is all these failures. You know, it failed 166 times in the last 24 hours. Let's take a look over. Let's see. I started at 10th, so let's take a look from the 7th through the 13th. All right. And what's interesting is I started monitoring on the 10th. Over there, you can see that. Yeah, I'm sorry, the 11th. No, the 10th. And all these failures. But what concerns me more is these are intermediate failures. You know, they aren't down all the time. So true story, you know, when the people would call me and say, hey, website's down, can't access it. I'd get on, it'd be up, right? And I'd say, so I assumed it was their problem, right? I didn't have that
You
information.
assumed it was their network, or you assumed it was
Yeah.
their client. You
Yep.
assumed it was their EUC environment, because whenever you look, it's working. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's anything worse than a failure, it's an intermediate failure because you just don't know.
So if we're proactively looking at all this information, we can address outages before it impacts the users. We can even kind of keep track of SLAs with our SaaS providers, right? We can,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can know problems before help desk gets impacted and reduce that downtime. And I really see this as people want to work whenever they want to work, and it might be 2 a.m. And why would I prevent someone from working at 2 a.m? But if that SaaS application isn't working, they want to call help desk, and Tom's on my nightly watch tonight, and your pager's going off, Tom, when someone has a problem and it's not really a problem, or we can look back and see the historical, because you get on that website like, it's working for me, try again, and now it's working for them, and like it just woke you up. I mean, really interesting to be able then to, if something's truly down, like it's down, for me to get a blast email out to all my users before they call in, say, don't call in, I'm going to let you know when it's back online. I mean, I just saved everyone time, heartache, and gray hair.
Yep. And I showed an email, but we could also use a webhook to, like you say, send out a blast alert that resource blah is down. And then on the flip side, when it comes back up, we can also say, when it's back up and you can do things again.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what did we really talk about today, right? Is these 5 universal truths for supporting this hybrid workers, and how important that was to capture problems in real time, how important it is to remediate issues in minutes, not hours, and how important it is to automatically fix these reoccurring problems, because that is just going to frustrate your home worker, and it's going to frustrate IT help desk. It's known issues. How to optimize this digital experience, automatically optimize. I mean, there's optimizations I can do, you can do, we can do that are manual, but to automate optimization, to add resources, fix things, amazing. And then proactively notify everyone about issues. It's kind of like a shadow IT. Yes, you might have an IT ops organization that does monitor these SaaS applications or even your EUC environment, but are they telling you in a satisfactory time? Setting up this SaaS service to look at internal and external resources, super, super easy. Tom, this has been fantastic. Any last words with you, Tom?
Go forth and automate, man.
Go forth
and yeah, let me sleep at night. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we need to do mass healing. We need to do self healing. We need to make sure the end user just has the best user experience they can whether they're in the office or out of the office. Shouldn't matter.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Jeff Johnson. That's jeff.johnson@controlup.com. Feel free to send me an email if you have questions, comments, concerns about this this recording, this webinar. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the time.